Got the whole world in your hands. You got the whole wide world in your hands. You got the whole world. Hello, this is Bharat from Palmistry Unplugged, and today we're going to speak about something that's close to me because I have it in my hand, and that's the Simian line. Now, the Simian line is a special situation, of course, and the people that have that are subject to certain issues and challenges in life. And in fact, the subtitle in my book, when I present the Simian line, is "This is the push to find God," because having a Simian line gives a person a certain intensity and makes them different than other people, and it's challenging. It's like always having some rough seas there or some wind blowing. It's always like being in a boat where there's rough seas. So it's always something that a person has to deal with. Now, Simian line, where it gets its name is Simian is monkey. And if you look at a monkey's hand, you will see that it just has one line across. There's no emotional body, there's no heart line, there's no head line. It's joined together. So that's what the Simian line in a human represents, is that the head and the heart line, the emotional body and the mental body is joined together. Now, this does create some situations because it's always the mind and the heart working as one, or trying to work as one. And as you remember, the heart energy goes this way and the head energy goes this way, the mental body goes this way, the emotional body goes that way. So there's always a friction. In one way or the other, there's always a friction. It might not be so blatant, but underneath a person is having this. Now, in terms of evolution, the Simian line shows us that the emotional body developed out of the mental body, right? The emotional body developed out of the mental body, because you have in the lower primates, the monkey, you just have a Simian line, whereas in the humans, it's now a separation of the mental and emotional body. And actually that also helps in evolutionary terms, our development, why we are able to get more things created in life than the monkey, is because of the separation of the mental and emotional body in evolutionary terms. So when a person has this situation, and there could be all sorts of variations. They can have the Simian line in the left hand and not in the right hand. It could be incomplete, or it can be, all sorts of different variations of the Simian line. And you can look at different textbooks, they'll show you different variations of the Simian line. But what it means is the emotional body and the mental body are joined together, and they need to, and this causes a certain situation. So, for example, especially when I was young, and not so much now, if I was emotionally upset, I couldn't do anything materially. Like, I couldn't even go out to buy a banana or a container of milk if I'm emotionally upset. A little bit I still have that, but not like when I was younger. Of course, there has been in my right hand some separation of my Simian line, so I do have more independence. And then on the other hand, you can be feeling the utmost love for somebody. Your heart energy is just coming out, but your mind is saying this person doesn't fit your mental image of the person that you want to be with. Then it just doesn't work, and this can cause a lot of pain in people, for each person, because you love that person, but the mind is just always there saying no, it doesn't work. So actually, for Simian line people, to getting that 100% yes, 100%, my heart is 100%, my mind is 100% to do something, it's much more difficult. It's much more difficult. And so it gives the person a certain intensity that's there. And there's a certain association with criminals and people with having a criminal mind And the Simian line, there is definitely association. And I have a little bit, I have to confess, a little bit of the criminal mind within me. I'm not going to talk about that online, though. And also, very often there can be a religious fervor with the person. And, there's always going to be some sort of intensity in some way. Now, a person with a Simian line can be like a sort of hard to get to them, to really on a deep level because of this. So there can be a certain distance and aloofness with people having Simian lines. And very often, not with everybody, there can be a very sudden switch in emotions. I have this. Let's say I have very much having a love affair with somebody or something, having a good feeling with somebody, and they just have to say the wrong thing to me or do the wrong thing to me. I quickly switch from love to, I wouldn't say hate, but having a really bad feeling, or even hate, from love to hate, having that switch. And that's something that I've watched in my life that can happen, how quickly I can switch. So people with Simian lines have that. Now, again, on an evolutionary level, so having a Simian line as a human there is kind of a breakdown, even though it can lead to some great individuals doing great things. Like some certain masses can have a Simian line. The thing that's positive about it is that it pushes you to find meditation. It pushes you to find what's beneath the mind and the heart, what's in the center, like the center of the storm, the eye of the storm, to find that space of peace and calm, because out there it's always rough seas. And I find that to be really true with most people that have the Simian line. Now, as far as developmental, is what I was saying before, if they suspect a baby to have Down syndrome, like to be mongoloid or something, they look to see if the baby has a Simian line. Because the Simian line is also associated with being mongoloid, with having Down syndrome. And my personal experience is, because I could also remember a past life where I was mentally impaired in some other life. And what I find is that everybody who has the Simian line, they've had this mental, maybe not having Down syndrome, but some sort of mental disability in another life, and now they're coming into this life. And there's still a leftover of it. So I find people with Simian lines can be simple, Like I find I can be quite complicated on one hand, on the other hand I can be quite simple, like duh, but in a nice way. And I find the Simian line people very often they do have this. So the Simian line it's quite a thing to have a Simian line. It is the push to find God. So people with Simian lines, why they go into criminal activities is because that intensity is they can't concentrate for really long times. So they want to do some criminal act where they do a burst of energy for a short time and then they can quit, like importing dangerous items or something like this. So this appeals to people who have Simian lines. Okay, so. Yeah, it's quite an interesting, I find it quite an interesting point, the Simian lines. Now, the next thing that I do want to get into is called the line of courage. Now, this is a line, and this again is a real line. You don't see it very often, but it's a line, as you see in the diagram, that is going, it starts below the heart line, sort of under the sun, and then travels up, crosses the heart line. And people so this is in the female Mars area, and it is an indication of courage and fortitude. And people that I have found to have that, especially when it's a really strong line, a thick line, they usually have courage and fortitude. The downside about that is that existence usually gives you a situation where you have to use it. So it's created. So yeah, you're having the courage and fortitude, but you're going to be challenged. So that's a courage line. You don't see them very often, but they definitely often enough. Okay, so with that, I'm going to end this this discourse, and we will continue with other aspects of the hand. All right, thank you very much. This is Barat from Palmistry Unplugged. See you later. Got the whole world in your hands. You got the whole wide world in your hands. You got the whole